Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today I'm going to be making some Brazil nut milk. Now I know I have a lot of nut milk videos out there, and so this isn't going to be much different, but I wanted to talk more about it and get the information out there just because there's always a lot of new people coming in and they might not know I have all these nut milk videos out there. But there's so many different combinations and nuts and seeds and things like that that you can use to make your own dairy-free milk. Another option is oat milk, and I plan on doing that someday too because I really want to try it and see how it tastes. But today it's Brazil nut. I love Brazil nuts. Now, one of the reasons I really wanted to get back into doing the Brazil nut milk, because I haven't done it in a while, is just to remind people that there's other types of nut milks out there that you can make. And if you have a low thyroid or a low functioning thyroid, finding ways to get more Brazil nuts in different formats into your diet is going to be very beneficial because it's very high in selenium. So one Brazil nut has enough of the US recommended daily allowance just in one, and so you can eat a couple of these a day and really give your thyroid a boost. So here's one way you can get the Brazil nuts into your diet. So what I did the other day, and I just did a video, you would have seen it already if you've been watching this and that video, where I was talking about this and I showed me Philip putting the Brazil nuts in here and then putting the rainwater on here to start the soak. And these actually have been soaking for 2 days because then yesterday we had to take off. It was kind of not an emergency, but it was something that suddenly we needed to run into town and get some paperwork done. And while we were in there, we made it a shopping day. So this got left all the way through all day yesterday, and I'm just now getting it. So almost 2 whole days it's been soaking. However, it's still fine as long as I do it right now. It's okay to let it soak longer than 24 hours, but you don't want it to go too long or it can sour on you. So you want to get busy on it if it's sat for 2 days like this has. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this over the sink and pour it through my mesh strainer to strain out all this water, and then I'm going to rinse them a little bit, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so the Brazil nuts are drained and rinsed, and I'm ready to put them in my blender. So I'm going to put that in here. So what I started with, if you didn't see that video, is typically I'll start with about a cup or more of nuts. How many nuts you put in there is going to depend on, first, how much of the milk you want to make, and also how rich you want the milk to be. So typically you're going to make with something like this, you're going to make about 3 cups of nut milk out of this. And then you'll have about a cup of pulp left when you're all done straining it out. So keep in mind too that once you soak those nuts, they're going to expand some, so they're going to take up a little bit more room. Now again, you can increase your amount of nuts, whether it be coconut, hemp seed. You know, I'm saying all nuts, but seeds work too, because I'm going to be starting some pumpkin seed milk today as well. Whatever kind it is, you can simply just add a little bit more, increase it to by another 1/4 cup or 1/2 cup to get a richer milk, or if you want to add more liquid to it. So what I'm going to be doing is adding about 3.5 cups of water to this approximately. And usually I'll fill it up to at least the 4-cup mark here. And sometimes I'll take it up to the 5-cup mark, which I think is what I'm going to do today, because I have about a cup of nuts. That should give me at least 3 cups of nut milk. So I'm going to take my filtered rainwater, which of course I recommend any kind of clean water you can get that is not city tap water. You know what? I'm going to stop at 4 cups and we'll see how that does, because I'm still going to add in some more stuff. Now, since I'm not going to be using this nut milk to make a vegan cheese, I'm going to be using it for other purposes, which I'll have more videos coming. I'll plan on shooting one immediately after this of what I'm going to do with the pulp. I don't mind it being a little bit on the sweet side or having some flavor to it. So what I'm going to do is take a couple of my medjool dates, and I will, by the way, link to the pumpkin seeds, the Brazil nuts, and the medjool dates that I have here down below. You can get at least these 2, the pumpkin seeds and the medjool dates, on the subscribe and save. which on Amazon, which will save you even more money. So these ones are not pitted. So you got to take the pits out. So I'm just going to cut it in half. And I'm going to put 2 dates in there. And what that's going to do is add a little more flavor and just a little bit of sweetness. And I love medjool dates. They're my favorite kind of dates because they have this wonderful caramely type flavor to them. And then another option is to put in a little bit of your vanilla extract. Now this one's going to look slightly red because I actually made this one with my blackberry wine instead of vodka. I did use some glycerin in it too. Personally, my other flavored extracts, I don't mind making with the wine. I think they're turning out great. But the vanilla, for some reason, doesn't taste near as good as it's still really good. It just doesn't taste near as good as it does when I use the rum and the glycerin combination. So anyway, I'm going to pour about, a tablespoon-ish. That might be even half a tablespoon, so it's not really that much. Now, if you use glycerin to make your extract, it is going to add a little bit more sweetness, but keep in mind this is not the kind of, though you shouldn't use glycerin as a sugar replacement on a regular basis, just like most replacement type sugars. It is one that is totally keto friendly and and diabetic friendly, because it's not going to cause any issues. It's not going to raise your blood sugar or anything like that. So it's perfectly safe for that, as long as you use it in moderation. Okay, so now I just put the lid on. I'm going to put this on my blender and then process it up, and then I'll show you what we do next. Okay, this is all processed up, and yes, I'm glad I didn't put any more than just 3 cups about, just filling it up to the 4-cup mark, because that would have been too much. Because, if you put too much water in there, it can make it just real watery tasting, so you want a nice creamy rich flavor, especially depending on how you're going to use it. So anyway, I'm just pouring it through my cheesecloth here that is also laying on top of a mesh strainer. Right here I've got a stainless steel mesh strainer, and it on top of my batter bowl. I want to get as much of the pulp out of the milk as I can, because I'm going to be using the pulp in something else, and then I want the milk as clean as possible. It's going to depend on how you want to use that milk, whether or not it really matters to you. But anyway, I usually let it sit for a few minutes, and then once most of the milk has started going through, you can even pick it up and just start squeezing it to make it go a little bit faster. Or at least just do that every so often. Now, while we're letting that continue to strain and just let that milk drain through there, I'm going to go ahead and just reuse this jar, rinsed it out, that I had the Brazil nuts in, and I'm going to put in about a cup of these pumpkin seeds. So this is going to be a first. Though I've made Brazil nut milk before, I have never made pumpkin seed milk. So this is a complete first for me. So I'm putting in about a cup of seed. And then the same thing, I want to just make sure they get covered. Okay, so now I simply put that lid back on and clamp it down, and so this will sit for another day, for about 24 hours, and then I'll do the same process that I'm doing right here. And then be watching down the road, because most likely I'll be talking about the update on what I think of the pumpkin seed milk. I'll probably be talking about it in a this and that video, and I'll try to make sure to put that in the title so you know that I'm talking about it in one of those. Yeah, let's come back to this and see how it's doing here. Looks like a lot of that milk, like what I find is you let it sit for a little bit, squeeze it, and then let it sit again. You can go do other things for a little bit, then come back and squeeze it again. That will just speed up the process. And then another thing I like to do is just kind of massage this little ball of pulp here, like that, and just look at all that milk that's coming out. And then squeeze it again. Okay, it looks like I'm going to get a lot of good milk out of here. So I'll be back when this is all strained, and I'll show you what I'm going to do and talk a little bit about what I plan on doing with the pulp. So you can, so nothing's going to go to waste here. Okay, now that I got most of the milk strained out of the pulp, I am going to go ahead and set this aside. And I've got a canning funnel here over my quart-sized jar. So not quite a quart, because I didn't put in a whole 4 cups of water. I just filled it up to just a little bit past the 4-cup line. So almost forgot to show you. So again, another way, just you can recycle your canning lids, your already used canning lids, and just put them inside. The regular white plastic ball lids that are made for this are recycle some old peanut butter jar lids that will fit really well. These ones usually do best on the cur. It's rare that they catch the threading too well on the ball, but this is a ball jar and for some reason it's working fine. But anyway, it's ready to go, the milk, for however I want to use it. And so all you want to do, just put it in the refrigerator. But I do recommend you use this up within 3 days. So if you can't go through this much milk within 2, 3, 4 at the very tops, but I would say 3 max, then make less at a time. Only make what you need, because it doesn't take long to do anyway. Because I find it spoils quicker than regular milk, whether it be raw milk or pasteurized milk, it spoils quicker. So you need to use this up a lot faster. Same thing goes with the pulp. All right, so let's deal with this pulp. So I wanted you to be able to see what it looks like. I did squeeze quite a bit of that milk out, and it's actually pretty dry as is. Now what you can do is, if you have a wood stove or an oven, you can simply spread your pulp out onto a baking sheet like this stoneware one. This is the kind I recommend the most. And in the wintertime, when I'm drying out a pulp, I like to do it this way on top of my rack. I think I have a picture I can put right here that Patrick built for me out of old bed rails, and I use that for dehydrating in the wintertime. And then you can just dry this. Make sure you stir it and keep a close eye on it, and keep it high up or even next to your wood stove, or put it in your oven on low with the door cracked open. I would say about maybe 200, and again, just keep checking and watching it. And then what you can do is you can use it as a flour. Now I have a video I did a year or so ago about almond flour and how you can make your own, and the savings you get out of making your own nut milk and then flour out of that, as opposed to buying the nut milks at the store and the nut flour. So I'll go ahead and link to that video up here and down below in the description box. Remember, don't forget to click on the show more button. But I'm not going to be doing it that way this time. I'm going to be using this pulp immediately. So if you're going to use it within the next couple of days, if you know you're going to use it in the next couple of days, simply put it in a good a bowl or a jar, whatever that's going to have a good tight fitting lid on it. Okay, I had to clean up my mess first because I was getting it all over the place. So there, I've got a good tight fitting lid, and then store it in your refrigerator. Again, I recommend, just like with the milk, you use this up within the next 2 to 3 days. Don't let it sit for too long in there, or just like the milk, it will spoil. But if you'd go ahead and dehydrate it and then turn it into a dry flour, then you can vacuum seal it in a jar and it'll last for quite a long time like that. But I'm going to either make a sweet bread of some sort, like a quick bread, like maybe a zucchini bread, apple bread, pumpkin bread, whatever. And I'm going to use the pulp in that directly. And it's, like I said, I actually got quite a bit of the milk out easily enough. And it's a lot easier to get it out of these kind of nuts than it is the cashew. The cashew takes the longest, but it's also the creamiest when it comes to doing stuff like that. So that's why I like that, the cashew nut, for making a cheese, or at least a blend with cashews. But anyway, so yeah, you can use this in any of your quick bread recipes. I would say even in your yeast breads as far as the dry, but if you're going to use the wet stuff, I recommend going with a quick bread, because it's easier to adjust your measurements of the liquid ingredients you're going to put in there in order to compensate for the moisture that's going to be in it when it's like this. So pancakes are super easy, and then you've got muffins, and like I said, banana breads and other types of breads like that is going to be really good in. And so I'm planning on doing that. I haven't decided what yet, but I'll shoot a video on it so you can see how I do that. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and just another idea for making some kind of dairy-free milk. And again, options to do with the pulp, so nothing gets thrown away. You can use all of this stuff up and make the most out of your money when you buy those nuts, seeds, and whatever. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.